Hi, it's Saturday the 18th of January 2025. I've just arrived in Ivy Bridge on the southern edge of Dartmoor, and I'm going to go on a 3-night hike up to Okehampton on the northern edge of the moors. I decided to come down to Dartmoor because the rest of the country is still below freezing at the moment, and I don't really like hiking in sub-zero temperatures because it can get a little bit icy and slippery walking along. Also, I'd need a very heavy winter sleeping bag, and another problem is during the night all the water bottles freeze up, and someone said that if you have a water filter, they don't like sub-zero temperatures as well. It damages the fibres. And I much prefer walking in slightly warmer weather as well anyway. It's about 6 to 7 degrees, I think, at Dartmoor at the moment, so that's not too bad for hiking. So later this year, I want to do a long distance hike in Wales. It's called the Cambrian Way, and it's a 298 hike. It starts in Cardiff on the south coast of Wales and goes up to Conwy on the north coast. So I tried the Cambrian Way last year, and I actually got to Conwy, but for one reason or another I missed out a couple of stages, and I did a couple of shortcuts. So this year I'd like to go back and do it in its entirety. So before I go, I'm testing out some new bits of kit. So when I get up onto the moors, I want to start talking about a new tent I've got, which I'm hoping to take on the Cambrian Way. So last year I was using a tent called the Hillyberg Solo, which is a great tent, but the little problem is it's just a little bit too heavy. It was about 2.6 kilograms, so for multi-day hikes I just found it a little bit on the heavy side. So I'm trying out a tent. I'm trying out the Terra Laser Compact AS, and the Terra, it weighs 1.73 kilogram, and it's had a lot of really good reviews, and it's a 4-season tent as well, so I'm hoping to be able to use it all next year. I'm just heading up to an old tramway track. I'm just going to have a little rest when I get up there. Just arrived at the old tramway track. Many years ago there used to be a China clay works, an old quarry up in Dartmoor, and this is a tramway or a railway line. They used to use this so the workers could go up there and to take supplies up there, but nowadays it's part of the Two Moors Way walk, which goes across Devon. So the first thing I like about the Terra Laser Compact AS, the packed size. It's very compact. I think it's 33 centimeters long, 19 centimeters wide, so you can lash it onto the outside of a rucksack and it doesn't poke out at each side, because when it does that sometimes they bash against trees and bushes. So it's a very small compact size for hiking with, so I'll give it 10 out of 10 for that. So I'll be following the track for this afternoon, and then a little bit of tomorrow morning. I'm heading right up to the old China clay quarry. So the price of the tent in the UK, the Laser Compact AS, it was £690, but I say it was because I think at the moment Terra have got a sale on, and I think it's on sale for £483 at the moment, so a very good value for money. And also a lot of the big YouTube channels, when they did a review of the tent, they have a discount code. So if you use that discount code when buying the tent on the Terra website, you can get quite a big discount. So there's a YouTube channel called Backpacking UK. They offer a discount code, and also I think Hayes Outdoors has a discount code, and also Paul Messner, his YouTube channel, he has a discount code as well. So at the moment the tent is very good value for money. I'm not walking very far this afternoon. I'm only doing about 5 miles, but I've got plenty of time to get to Okehampton. But I've been along this track a couple of times before, so I know where there's a couple of nice camping spots. There's a stream just off the track where I've camped before, and that seems a nice place, so I'm heading up there now. Just arrived at the stream where I'll be camping tonight. On Dartmoor, it's always nice to camp on the tors because you always get a nice view. But I tend to prefer camping near a stream because you get a lot of drinking water for the night, and also if I'm in a valley or a big gorge, it tends to be out of the wind. The only problem in winter though is it gets a bit foggy in the morning sometimes down in the valleys. So I'm just going to look for a nice flat spot and put a tent up. So these laser compacts, they're quite easy to put up. I was having to move the pegs around a bit to get it in the right spot. So I'm too used to the Hillyberg Solo. That's a lovely tent to put up because you just plonk it exactly where you want and just put the pegs in, and that's it. It goes up in a minute. But I was having to adjust the pegs around a bit to get this just right. But I think after I've used it a few times, I'll get used to it. So the next thing I like about this tent, it's a very lovely dark green colour. It's very low profile, so when while camping, it blends into the environment quite well. It's getting a bit chilly now, so I'm just going to collect some water and then just get in the tent and talk a little bit more about it. I'm just going to give a few specifications every night, otherwise I'll just be talking for the next 10 minutes. So I'm just going to get some water and then go inside and then talk about the dimensions of the tent. I couldn't find the internal dimensions of the inner tent on the Terra website, but fortunately I watched the Backpacking UK video review of this. It's a chap called Andy, and he had all the dimensions of the inner tent. So I'm going to pinch all the figures off the Backpacking UK video. So anyway, the length of the inner tent, it's 220 centimetres. So on average size, and it's plenty long enough in the tent. The height is in the middle of the tent, it's 98 centimetres high, and at the end of the tent it's 48 centimetres high, and the width in the centre of the tent is 110 centimetres, and at the end of the inner tent it's 92 centimetres. And the sort of the cooking vestibule area is quite narrow actually. It's about 40 centimetres wide. It's not really a problem unless you've got a rather large rucksack. However, I've just got a Z-Packs Arc Haul rucksack. So that's quite a lightweight tent. It's quite easy to squeeze in. But if you've got a very large, like an Expedition 80-litre rucksack, it might be a bit of a struggle squeezing it in the vestibule at night. So that's one thing to bear in mind when buying this tent. So anyway, I'm going to settle down now, make a coffee, and then tomorrow morning I'm continuing my walk across Dartmoor. So until tomorrow morning, good night. Sun just coming up now. I think the weather forecast for the next couple of days, it's just going to be very dark and cloudy, but there's no big storms coming in, so it should be okay for hiking for the next couple of days. Yeah, I had quite a nice sleep in the tent last night. I'm not a tent expert, but I think that this is what they call a tunnel tent, and I think one of the advantages that a tunnel tent has compared to a dome tent, they got a bit more length. It's very roomy inside. There's a lot of length for sleeping in. I think dome tents, they're higher. You got more headroom, but they're not as long. So I think I prefer a tunnel tent to a dome tent because there's still a lot of room to set up inside, and also because it's a bit lower, it'll be a bit more sturdier in very windy weather. So today it's a very short walk again today. It's about a 9 or 10 mile walk. I'm heading to a place I've camped a couple of times before. It's an old disused tin mine. It's called Houghton Wheels. Right, so that's everything packed. So today's route, I'm heading back onto the track which leads to Red Lake China Clay Works, and then from there I'll be heading up onto Riders Hill, and then from there it's just a short walk down to Houghton Wheels, tin mine. So when buying a tent, one of the first things to find out, of course, is how waterproof it is. So all tents, or most tents, they have a hydrostatic head rating, and that's how they measure how waterproof it is. So when they test a tent fabric, they get a long vertical hollow plastic tube, and they seal the bottom with the tent fabric that they're testing, and then they just fill the tube up with water. And when they get to about 1,000 millimeters of water, if the fabric starts leaking, then that fabric's got a hydrostatic head rating of 1,000 millimeters, and if they can fill it up to 2,000 millimeters and then it starts to leak, then it's got a rating of 2,000 millimeters, and so on. So those 50 quid tents that people take to Glastonbury and events like that, they'll have a rating of around 1,500. And at the other end of the scale, the Hillyberg, the top of the scale, top of the range Hillyberg tents, they'll have a rating of 5,000 upwards. So they'll take anything you can throw at them. And the Laser Compact AS, the fly sheet, has a hydrostatic head rating of 3,000, and that's still very waterproof. That's more than good enough for the British climate. And the ground sheet has a rating of 10,000, so it has a very waterproof ground sheet as well. Getting a little bit snowy up here now. There was a lot of snow on Dartmoor about a week ago, but most of it has melted now. It's just the shaded areas that have still got quite a bit of snow, so I don't think it'll be too much of a problem for the next couple of days. Just arrived at the old site of Red Lake China Clay Works. So just down there, that's the quarry where they used to extract the China clay. It's a big lake now. I guess it's very scenic here on a sunny day, but it's a bit too foggy to get any nice views today. So I'm just going up to the top of the old spoil heap and then have a little rest. Yeah, it's a pity about the fog today, but it's still quite mild and dry. It's not raining, so maybe I'll come up here another day to admire the views. So yeah, Red Lake China Clay Works, it wasn't in production for very long actually. They started here in 1910 and then it closed it down in 1933. And the big pit I just passed, they used to hose out the China clay from that big pit, and then it was mixed with water, and then it went down by pipe down near to Ivy Bridge, and then it was processed down there, and then they would put it on the trains to send around the country. I'm just heading over to Riders Hill. Oops, this is where I get my feet wet. Just arrived at Riders Hill. This is the highest point of southern Dartmoor. This is 515 metres. Not much to see here. There used to be a Bronze Age cairn, but that's gone now. I think there's a few traces of it, and a trig point. And there's two boundary marker stones. One of them is called the Petra stone. I think they mark where three parishes meet. So I'm just going to have a little break here now and then head northwards down to my camping spot. So should be there pretty soon. Just arrived at the old disused tin mine at Houghton Wheels. So I've camped here a couple of times before. It's not the best place on Dartmoor. It's a little bit stony actually. I can just get the pegs in, so I might have to just put a stone or two on the pegs later on tonight if it gets windy. But I like it because it's in a camping zone, so you're allowed to camp here, and it's sort of in the centre of Dartmoor, so it's quite handy for a multi-day walk. And the old spoil heaps, they give good shelter from any strong westerly winds. And there's a stream just down there, so it's quite a nice place, quite peaceful here. So I'm just going to make a coffee, and then I'm going to continue talking about the tent. There's one little problem with this tent that other people have pointed out as well. The inner tent and the outer tent, they're connected, so putting them up is not a problem. It all goes up in one go. But unfortunately, the corner of the inner tent and the corner of the fly sheet, they're not connected. So when you put the tent up, you peg out the fly sheet, and then you've got to go around and try and put your hand under the fly sheet and just find the corner loop of the inner tent and then peg that onto the same peg. But what I've done, I've bought a packet of these, and these are 3 centimetre long mini carabiner clips. And you could get a packet of 5 of these on Amazon for £3. And so I've just attached them to the corner loops on the inner tent and just attached it to the loop of the fly sheet. And it works okay. It goes up a lot easier now, so I might make a better job of it when I get back home before I go up to Cambrian Way. And as this is designed to be a winter tent, the fly sheet goes all the way down to the ground, which I quite like, because that helps keeps it warm inside, and also if it's snowing outside or very windy, it keeps all the bad weather out of the tent. So that helps keep the tent nice and warm inside. Another nice touch, and this is on other stormproof tents as well, you can double pole the central pole, this arch pole in the middle. So you can get a second pole, and if you have 2 poles, of course, that would make it very stormproof. And I'll check for the price on the Terra website. At the moment they're £70, so they're not cheap. They might be on discount at the moment, but you get good value for money. These are good quality poles. I think they're 9mm alloy poles, so they're quite strong. So if I was going somewhere very windy, I'd definitely consider double poling it, because it would be a very sturdy tent then. And then at each end of the tent there's a shorter pole. I'm trying to get it at the right angle. I'm sort of working on it. I think that's why last night the tent looked a bit floppy, because I'm working on getting the end poles at the right angle. But I'm hoping to sort of perfect that before I go to Wales. The material of the fly sheet is 30 denier ripstop nylon. So denier, that measures how thick the fibres are in the fabric. So the higher the denier count, the stronger it is, but it's all compromised, because the higher the denier measurement, the heavier the fabric would be. So if it's a lightweight tent, they don't want it to be too heavy, so that is quite a strong fabric. So just going to settle down for the night. So tomorrow afternoon I want to talk about the ventilation for when I'm using the tent in the summer. So it's quite good for ventilation, this tent. But now I'm just going to settle down and listen to the radio. Then tomorrow morning I'm heading towards Steeperton Tor, so I might be camping just before there. But if not, I'm hoping to camp on the Tor tomorrow night. So till tomorrow morning, good night. I forgot to mention that the AS on the tent stands for all season, because Terra Nova, they used to do an earlier design of this tent, and that was called the Laser Compact All Season. And then a couple of years ago they improved it, they decided to upgrade it, and then the new version is just known as the AS. Today I'm heading up to Belvoir Tor, and then from there I'm heading up to Wildkin Tor. And when I get there, I'll be back in a wild camping zone. Now, that wild camping zone, it stretches all the way up to, almost up to Okehampton. So once I get up to Wildkin Tor, I can start looking for another camping spot. Just arrived at Huckabee Tor, which is my first tour of the day. Starting to clear up a bit actually. Might see a bit of sunshine, I hope. I was listening on the radio this morning. There is another big storm heading towards the UK, and it's here in about 3 or 4 days. So I'll be off the moors, thank then. So I'm quite glad for that. I think that's Bellever Tor just on the horizon over there. So I'm just going to have a little break and then keep heading northwards. Just arrived at Bellever Tor. Very nice tor this, very prominent. You get some really nice views. That's looking south where I've just come. Now I've got to head down to the forest, down to Postbridge, and then just after Postbridge I'll be heading towards Greyweather's Bronze Age Stone Circle. Just going to have a little break and then continue onwards. Right, time to continue down to Postbridge. Just arrived at Postbridge. I've had a change of plan. I was going to head up to Watton Tor, then to Wild Tor, then from there get to Steeperton Tor. But I've never done that route before, and it might be a little bit too boggy. And from here there's a route I'm much more familiar with. A couple of years ago I went up to the East Dart River waterfall, crossed over there, and then went up to Sitterford Tor. And I know on the other side of Sitterford Tor there's a lovely camping spot just by the River Tean. So if I'm feeling lazy I just might stop there this afternoon. So next stop now is Sitterford Tor. Just arrived at Sitterford Tor. Just looking to the south again. I think I'm going to head down to the River Tean. It's 20 to 2 now, and it gets dark about 5 o'clock. I think Steeperton Tor's about 4 miles away, but it's getting a bit dark now. So I'm just going to go down to the Tean River, and if the camping spot looks okay, I might just stop there. If not, I might just try carrying on to Steeperton Tor for this evening. But I'm only about 9 miles from Okehampton now, so there's no rush. decided to call it a day down by the River Teign. Although I guess this high up it's not really a river. I think this is what people up north would call a burn. So like a large stream or a small river. But this is a great place to camp. There's 2 or 3 decent spots around here, and there is some internet as well, so you can browse internet and send emails and stuff. I use the Komoot app, and people put places of interest on there, and someone else recommended this spot, so it must be quite a popular spot. So I'm just going to settle down again, warm up with a cup of coffee. I'm just going to talk about the ventilation of the tent. So when I'll be using the tent in the summer, the inner door, the top half can roll down. So you just got the mosquito net there. So that'll let quite a lot of air in. And also at each end of the inner tent, you've got these little flaps, and they can come down. And on the outer tent, there's another flap as well. I can't be bothered to undo it now, it's too cold and wet outside. So that means a stream of air can come through. So it'll be nice and cool in the summer. And on each side of the inner door, there are these little pockets. And the pocket on the left, I use it to stash the inner door in, so that's nice and neat, out of the way. Right, I'm just going to settle down now. Then tomorrow morning it's about 9 miles down to Okehampton. So looking forward to that. I think it should be quite dry. So till tomorrow morning, good night. Right, that's everything packed. So time to head to Okehampton. On North Dartmoor, there's a very big army firing range, and some days they have live firing, so there's obviously no public access, and other days there is public access. So it's always best to check online when hiking across North Dartmoor. So today there isn't any live firing, so it's okay to go through. I'm just approaching one of the army observation posts on the edge of the firing range, and that's where they fly a red flag if there is any firing, so hopefully it won't be flying. If it is, I'd have to head back down to Postbridge and get a bus or a taxi back to a larger town. That's a relief. There's no red flag flying today, so okay to walk through the firing range. So today I'm heading straight over to Oak Tor. I was thinking about going up Steeperton Tor just to see the views, but I don't think it'll be worth it today. It's a bit foggy, so I'm just going to go to Oak Tor and then head down into the town. Oh, might be a nice day today. There's a lot more cloud rolling in, unfortunately. I was thinking of going up to the Tor to have a nice look around, but I think I'm just going to head down to Okehampton now and get a nice hot cup of coffee. Just approaching the Tor River on its way down to Barnstaple and the Bristol Channel. Although like the Teign River on Dartmoor, it's really more of a big stream than a river, so it's quite easy to cross. So now it's just a short walk to Oak Tor, where I'll have a little break. just going to have a little look at the scenery from the top of Okehampton. Heading over to Dartmoor, and then it'll be all downhill to Okehampton. I think Dartmoor is just over there on the horizon. Right, time to continue onwards. Just arrived at Dartmoor, so this is my last tour, so quite close to the town from here. It's quite a small tour, but there's some nice views from here, looking back south towards the moors. This is looking towards North Devon. Yeah, so the Laser Compact AS, very good tent. I'll be taking it with me when I go hiking this year. The main problem, which other people have mentioned as well, is the corners. If Terra had designed it so the corners of the fly sheet and the inner sheet in the inner tent were connected, it would make it so much easier to pitch. And also, I don't like the shot cord they use at the corners. It's a very sort of thin, cheap looking shot cord. I don't know how resilient it would be, but someone on YouTube has actually done a video on how to replace all that shot cord and put something in that's a little bit more neater and sturdy. So I'm going to watch that video again, and I'll probably do some changes on the tent before I head off to do the Cambrian Way. And another minor problem is the width of the storage area between the inner tent and the outer tent. So if you've got a large rucksack, it may be a bit of a squeeze fitting it in there, so you may have to either leave it outside or put it in the inner tent. But I just have a lightweight rucksack and it's not a problem. And I guess it's all give and take, because the inner tent is quite wide, so they have to make a thinner storage space because of that, and that's really the way I like it, because it does give you a lot of space in the inner tent. But the main reason I decided to buy one is because it's a true all year round tent. So from what I've heard about the tent, it's very good in stormy weather, especially if you double pole it. It's very waterproof and very sturdy, so it wouldn't go anywhere in a storm. And also because of those ventilation flaps, it would be a good tent to use in the hot summer months as well. So I hope to be using the tent all year round. Just arrived at Okehampton train station and the end of my little walk. So I'm now going to wait for the days to get a little bit longer, for the weather to get a bit warmer, and then I'll be going off on my hiking for this year. So thank you very much for watching my video, and I hope to upload another one soon. Bye.